Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here with my friend Jonathan to talk about episode 3 of The Amazing Race. Jonathan, I learned something new about you, that you are a pumpkin spice chai latte girly.
Spice chai. Here's the thing, but I was just saying that with my pumpkin spice. It's the chai mixed with the pumpkin foam that you have at this time of year that makes it like really good. And it makes it almost like a little eggnoggy, but with the chai, and I like all the above. So, get it while you can. It's seasonal.
So, if you were to go up to the counter, how would you order your beverage right now?
Okay, well, the biggest, obviously. But beyond that, you have to get coconut milk.
Okay.
Coconut milk. Now, coconut milk in a certain beverage can dry it out, like can make it like a little bit. But in the right beverage, it's a good dairy,
Alternative.
alternative. And yeah, I try not that I'm allergic to dairy, but I just try not to have dairy when I can. And so coconut milk, and it tastes good. Tastes good.
So you'd be like, I would like a venti chai latte
Oh,
with
it's
cold. Wait, what?
Trente. Trente, like the
Tre-
biggest.
okay, Trente.
Trente chai latte. What are they called? The cold ones?
Cold brew?
Chai tea latte, but the cold one. Cold one. And
Iced?
it's iced. It comes iced. I don't actually change much of this other than switching out the coconut milk for the dairy. Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
this would be like a challenge on your own to try to get your order correct if we were on the Amazing Race. Okay, so Jonathan would want a Trente chai latte cold brew with coconut milk.
oh, you should see me with my refreshers. Those are customized. So
That is
those
so
are Starbucks refresher. It has the green bean, like coffee bean, element to it. So it's a little bit of caffeine, but not too much because I'm not supposed to have caffeine. And it's a little pick me up, but I don't have the dried strawberries. I have the strawberry acai refresher.
okay.
You have to customize it for yourself.
I've
Anyway,
never had it ever in my life. Well, I'll have to go with you, Jonathan. Now, we've been
we met.
talking about Starbucks.
I
Say
was gonna
again?
say we met. We didn't even tell everybody that we met.
We met
I
in
don't know.
person, even though we talked to each other almost every single day for the last 3 years.
We met about a month ago. So
Yes, we went to a screening of a TV show that he cast during the Toronto Film Festival.
yeah, which actually premieres tomorrow on Crave. If you're in Canada, Rhea Mac gets a lay. My hat,
Ooh.
the hat that I told you that my head's too big that I can't. Rhea Mac gets
Amazing.
a lay on Crave. First 3 episodes premiere tomorrow, Friday, and then the next 3 are following Friday.
Sweet. Well, we have some friends joining us today. Thomas is here. Sophie is here. Yes, we didn't recap because didn't want to do it in the evening because I'm going to be doing Rob as a podcast in the evening and then the challenge and I have to watch it. So we just thought that we just bump in a little bit earlier today, and instead of doing it almost a week later to upset you, Sophie. I think last time we did it only like two on Monday. So oh my god, my eyes are watering like crazy. It's wild right now.
It's a refresher. It's like usually I have to try to go over what happened in the episode just before this, but
And be reminded, yeah.
I just watched it, so it should be in my head. So
Hope so. Hello, Thomas. My Big Brother draft is going well. Yes, it is going well. Even though I'm going to lose my third player, I have way more points than anybody because I happen to have Jared and Cameron on my team and Riley. So and Felicia. So I have every single person that's won ahead of household I have on my draft team, and most of the other than Jag and Matt, my players have won all the competition. So yes, my draft is doing very, very well. Too bad I don't like them that much, but
okay.
okay. Let's talk about no sleep and $1 million dream. I have to say, Jonathan, that I'm so enjoying this season of The Amazing Race. I think it's the most that I've ever enjoyed or like in the recent seasons. Like the pace is good. The different personalities is great. I think it might have to do with the 90 minutes. I'm not sure, but I'm really having a good time with this season.
I think it's like a mix of it feels kind of like back to where we were. It's 90 minutes. It's because, I really like the drama. And so, and I feel like we don't even have it all that much. Like someone's like a villain or the team's like yelling at each other. I love
I like that.
actors. Sorry, I do. We don't even really have that. And it's, and it's still enjoyable. So I think it's a mix of a bunch of things. But it's good. Yeah.
It's so good. It makes me want to, like, I will see like the Canadian version saying like, okay, we're casting. And I'm like, but are
Yeah,
you going to stay in Canada? Are you going to just be thwarting different, commercials basically in the show? Like Chevy this and Samsung that and Desjardins this and Subway that. I'm just like, I just need them to go to another country and see how people interact in other environments. I have to. And I don't know if they will. Do you think that they will go to another country this season?
They didn't last season, and I don't think there was anything stopping them. So I feel like they won't. I
Oh,
feel I feel like it's a budgetary thing, and if
but
they
isn't it cheaper to film in like other countries?
well, not when I mean, it depends, but when you have to get like if you get like a lot of local crew and stuff like that. So I don't know that you can. I would say like filming a film in another country
Right.
potentially.
Because you can just build your team and like,
But I
yeah,
do think they have to travel a lot of people with this specifically because are you going to trust like this camera person from this other country following this other team around? Like you probably have to work with people that probably have been on the show
know
for
the
a
show.
while. Know it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it will be, but we have Amazing Race US in its place. So
That's true. But I want to be on it. I was talking with my sister, and maybe if she gets us cast, then they'll just like waive my or give me like a work visa for the show. Right? Maybe. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for being here. Taj is with you, Jonathan, hoping for some drama soon. I think there will be. I think there will be some drama soon. It seems like a cast that, like, right now, everybody's really just getting their feet wet in the race, and I think as they get closer to that real money, I think
yeah,
claws
I
are
mean,
coming out.
they were planting some seeds with Ian. I don't think it was Joe. I think it was Ian, right? Who was talking about how he gets a little bit more worked up. I was like, "Uh-oh, it's gonna."
Where are you gonna blow?
But even with our like favorite team, like Jocelyn and Victor, we saw what it's like for them not to be on the top. There's a little bit of like, a little of the snippy here and there kind of a thing, and I was like, okay, this kind of makes it very real for us, and I wonder as it goes on, people get tired. People who've been at the top maybe drop. We'll see what happens. People can, for me, it's like one of those things where like once I'm over it in my head, it's like watch out because I'm like let me be in a room by myself because
Temper tantrum coming.
so I was like I feel Ian is like me and I'm like if he gets to the end of his wits and has had a day yeah I could see some snapping perhaps which I do enjoy watching but again I've enjoyed it without kind of really without it this season so far so it's fine.
All right, so we started off in Bangkok, Thailand. We got a lot of times this episode, which was just delightful. Jocelyn and Victor were leaving first at 5:24 a.m. Now, were you surprised by how bright it was out at 5:24 a.m.?
No, because I mean it changes drastic. Sometimes I'm up at 5:24 a.m. and it's just and it's it changes drastically just even here within our seasons, you know what I mean? So who knows with other
I
countries.
just thought it looked like 11. It just looked like midday to
I was
me.
actually more surprised with I didn't write this down, sorry, but you like how long it took to get to where they were going because it would see
Mm,
team leaving at 5:40 whatever and then the next team, you know, you would see that it would like it seemed I might not be mathing it right, but it seemed like it took like an hour to get to their destination.
it
It just
did. It took, I think, exactly an hour.
leaving and all that kind of stuff. So I was more surprised with that than anything else. Actually.
So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go to a travel agent, and they're going to have to book a ticket. Hold on, shit. Can I not read my writing? Travel? No, I'm lying. They're traveling to Vietnam, which is 100,000. Wait, 100 million. What am I writing here? You watched it too. I'm like, I can't tell my writing.
I don't know. I'm sure it's
I
100.
wrote it in 100 million.
No, seconds. 100 million seconds.
No. 100 million people, and half of them are under the age of 25. Okay. Oh, we're starting off right now. And they're going to be taking a bus to Kanto eventually. So they firstly have to go to the Thailand tourist and travel agent to book flights, but it opens up at 7. So it's going to work out decently for Jocelyn and Victor because they're leaving at 5:24 a.m. So by the time they get there and then get into the travel agent, it's not going to be too long. We have your guys, Rob and Corey, leaving at second at 5:54. So between first and second was a half an hour. What was that surprising to you?
Well, it was, and I loved watching that. But also, in general, just like I said, like the fact that it had opened at 7 before Rob and Corey were there, I was like, oh, this is taking like so long to get there. I'm just surprised no one was getting lost or there wasn't anything in regards to that storyline wise. But yeah, I said it last time, I'll say it every time. I love seeing the times. We wouldn't have known how long it takes if it wasn't for
Mm-hmm.
all of that or how spaced apart they are. Love it.
Well, especially like so Greg and John, they're in third place and they're leaving at 6:41. So like almost an hour and 20 or around 17 minutes after team number 1. Like that's a pretty big spread, which is good to know if you're racing the race because like sometimes it's just like 10 minutes, but to know that between first and third is an hour and 20, like that would just make me feel better racing than like being like, oh my god, this is taking too long, we're out of here.
Yeah, and I like that difference. We do get in more of a somewhat of an equalizer in this episode, which we kind of were anticipating. We talked about last time, but in the we're talking about the Canadian version. I just feel like at all times they're 5 minutes apart. Like all teams are like 2, 3, 4 minutes apart, and you see them, so they have to be. Whereas this, I love that you kind of see that you can have these gaps in time, and then you have little equalizers where it's a benefit to get there sooner, but you keep them all pretty tight together.
Hi, Sandy. So Sandy says, hello, Chantele and Jonathan. I'm simultaneously watching this and the episode. So yes, you can correct me with anything that I misunderstand with the notes that I've taken.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could like watch the episode live and like also comment on it? But
I've done that before, but the only thing is that like we can't actually watch it because pardon?
You can't like
exactly.
show it.
But we could just like talk about, hey, maybe would you want to do House of Villains like that? We'll both watch it at the same time, but like record our reaction to watching it.
House of Villains. I'm so excited about it. I can watch New York, Tiffany Pollard, every single day of my life. And let me tell you, there's this little TikTok thing about like the Roman Empire and how guys always think about the Roman Empire kind of a
Okay,
thing.
do they, Jonathan?
Not me. My Roman Empire is legitimately anything with Tiffany Pollard, and specifically Big Brother House, talking about Emma Collins, but and also David's Dead. The whole like it's just constant clips of Tiffany Pollard. So I saw a little clip of her in House Villains with Johnny Bananas. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
They kick her out first, or even at all. I'm gonna be upset.
So yeah, when does it come on tonight?
I think it's tonight. Yeah.
Maybe we can watch it live. Okay, well, we'll discuss, but like maybe watching it together and reacting live like this would be kind of fun.
We're gonna have a Patreon, and it's gonna be in our Discord.
I know that's what Kathy's suggesting. Discord. We'll figure it out though. By the end of the day, we'll figure out what we're doing. We learned that John has visited Thailand in the last year, so he's feeling pretty familiar with like the energy and the vibe of his surroundings. So the flight that they're getting at for the first 3 teams at the travel agency is the 1:45 flight to Vietnam, and so it's 1:45 to 3:45, so it's a 2-hour flight. The 4th place team here is Morgan and Lena. They're leaving at 7:08. It's just like such a stretch. Top 4 is so wide, and that must feel good for these players. Ashley and Todd are in 5th place. They're leaving at 7:29, almost 2 hours after the first team. And so they were kind of upset though, because they were unable to get on that 1:45 flight that the first 4 teams got on. So they're going to have, the other teams are going to have a 6-hour head start. How would you feel if you were Ashley and Todd being 6 hours behind the front teams?
I just thought, okay, first of all, that you would expect with this small little travel agency, whatever, they would all go in there and they would all walk out like in order of how they came. Sure, some people can make it, but it was messy, and I am here for it. There was teams that were on the second flight. I mean, was there 3 flights altogether? I feel like, but
Yeah,
and there was teams that were on like the last flight, and then they could have gotten on like a much earlier one, but then someone else called. I thought that this was amazing. I thought they really lucked out with the show. The producers probably eating this up. Um, and yeah, I would have been upset, obviously, but I mean, what can you do, right? Like they're sitting there and they're like, "Is there anything earlier?" And you're like, "No." And then someone comes after you and they get something earlier. You're like, "What?" But that's reality. That's like with everything, right? It's you go anywhere, and it's sometimes everything is human. You speak to the right person, they speak to the right person, they can get you the right flight at the right time. Who knows? They could have just had a cancellation in this.
absolutely. I mean, with air travel, if there's any connecting flights, if a bunch of people miss their connecting flight, that means there's going to be a bunch of seats that are going to be open up on a new flight, and so it's really moment to moment with what's available. And agencies like they try to fill these flights, so when they pop up, oh wait, we got a new flight here, and like you just kind of like luck at the draw. So unfortunately, bad timing for some. But I would be so annoyed if I was like 6 hours behind the front 4 teams.
And
6
it's
hours is a
it's
lot.
it's almost wild because it like some like the teams that were at the back were rewarded, whereas like and the front teams were, but like the middle teams, you thought, oh, I'll be rewarded because I'm late, and you're not. But that's what happens when you're booking your own flights. So, and yeah, I loved the flight drama this episode. Mm,
It's very, very good. So Steve and Anna, or Anna Lee, are leaving in 6th place at 7:49. Joel and Ian 7th at 8:30. Liam and Jeremy 8th at 8:45. Joel and Garrett at 9th at 9 a.m. And Andrea and Milena 10th at 9:01. And lastly, Robin, your girls, Robin and Chelsea at 9:08. So the spread is from 5:24 a.m. was team number 1 to 9:08 was the final team to check in or to leave the pit stop. So, however it happened, Joel and Ian were able to get on an earlier flight, but as well as Joel and Garrett, they got on this 150 flight. Was it 150? Yeah. 150 flight when the front teams the front 4 teams got on the 145 flight. They got on a 150 flight that came out of nowhere, and then everybody else is going to be on at the 7:55 flight in the evening.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, and again, it's like Joel and Garrett walked in, used the guy that just had Joe and Ian, and he was able to get him the same flight, which was that crazy time so much earlier. And again, luck if they went elsewhere, waited for someone else, he was on lunch break, they wouldn't have gotten it, right? So I was like, the fact that those were both my teams too in my draft, I'm like, let's do it.
let's do it. Yeah, Sandy is loving the travel agency. He doesn't just give the flight in order that they arrive. Exactly. Like it just you sat at the right guy that had the right information on his screen at the right time. I don't particularly love luck in some of these games, but this type of luck is like that. You have to. It's
Part of
fun.
the race. It's
Yeah,
part of this show. The
yeah.
the taxi driver luck and the flight luck is like those are gonna happen. So yeah.
You just got to cross your fingers and hope your angels are guiding your way to make you have to get these good flights. Hi, Richie. Loving these recaps. Thank you. Yes, this leg was pretty chaotic in general. I enjoyed it a lot. Hi, Diva.
I have one criticism about it finally, but we'll get there. It's
We'll
not
get
yet.
there.
Get there.
We will get there. All right. So when they get to the airport, Ashley and Anna Lee are upset because they didn't get the 150 flight that they learned that the Joel and Ian and Joe Joe and Ian and Joel and Garrett got on. And so Ashley's pretty defeated about this. And then his name is Todd, or is it Scott? Todd. Someone like mentioned, I think it was Logan mentioned in my comments, is like, oh, well, the best couple is Scott and Ashley. And I'm like, he looks like a Scott. It's hard. I don't know which one is his real name.
There is no Scott, but
okay.
it's Todd. He doesn't look like a Todd, and he looks like a Scott. So it's very bad.
And like with the double D and the double T, like, I don't know. Hopefully by the end of the season, I'll be able to remember his name properly. He's a Todd.
He's a tall Todd.
Tall Todd. Tall Todd. Tall Todd. Perfect. Okay, so I said, the first 4 teams are at their gate, and they realize that there is no plane at the end of the what is that called?
The tarmac, whatever.
It's not tarmac.
The loading.
I should know. I am on it every day.
No, I don't know. You should know. You're there. But I love
the ramp. What's it called? Anyways, go on.
Loading area. But I love how, it was funny when it was Robin Corey who mentioned it, and they were like, oh, wait, there's no plane.
Well, one thing,
like, hand over that
I would probably try to do is I would go to someone that has a phone, and I would look at Flight Aware. So like when I'm working, if I want to see if like my flight's going to be canceled, or if it's going to be delayed or something, before I leave the house, I usually check and see where my plane is to see if it's going to touch down on time, or if it's like, if there's foreseen delays, because the airport is usually the last people that update the boards, but Flight Aware always has like minute to minute time of every tail of every plane that's operating in the world. So I would just be like, let's go, like Flight Aware, like I need somebody with a phone. Let me get on Flight Aware. Let me look at these tails from at least the flight that I was on.
This episode's sponsored by Flight Aware.
I'd love to be sponsored by Flight Aware. I don't play for the monthly, so like it takes me a little bit. It's kind of annoying to get in, but I would sponsor.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good tip, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like knowing where your plane is, like how long it's going to be until it touches down. Like, anyways, oops, and that's what I would do. But that's insider information for sure. So on the first flight now is going to be Joe and Ian and Joel and Garrett. They're leaving on the 150 flight. The second flight is leaving at 3 p.m. So it was only really an hour and 10-minute delay. Yeah. They made it seem like their flight was going to be the 6-hour delayed flight. That was a little bit of a misdirect.
Yeah. So pushing up my 2 teams on my draft and then knocking down some others, I was like, oh, I'm okay with this. Because again, it wasn't the last teams, and like we went into essentially an equalizer, so it didn't really mean much at the end.
It didn't, but they tricked me for sure. So they're going to be going to a bus station, and they're going to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So the 6:31 bus, Ian and Joe are going to be going on to. And so the flight, the travel time from when they landed from the airport was approximately, that would be 350, 4 hours or so that their drive was, a little less than 4 hours. Did you like how they had to take off their shoes to get all comfy cozy in their lie down buses?
Yeah, of course. Because I'm like, I don't know if many people know this, but I'm a bit of a germaphobe, and I just think it's gross, especially if you're going to lie down somewhere. First of all, that I would have been claustrophobic. That was too much for me. But I'm the type of person who will go somewhere and wipe everything down with a Lysol wipe, and it's just, it was very like Rob had to like walk, sideways, very very tight quarters. But I'm like, yeah, you're gonna be putting your feet up. I mean, it's probably, if it's culturally appropriate to take off your shoes, then absolutely. I'm glad, obviously, that they're doing that, but it's just cleaner. It's just cleaner.
Oh, I'm lying though. It's 2.5 hours was the bus ride, and then was the plane ride, and it was a 4 hour on the sleeper bus.
Yeah.
So they're really making them travel a lot, because like waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m. and then starting this whole day, and then
Well,
it's long.
Liam and Jeremy said that they maybe got like 2 hours of sleep the whole night or whatever about the German thing. You know what? You know what? Though? I hope you appreciate it. Lovable. Because things are clean. Everything's like, you know, haven't been sick in 4 years, but anyway.
All right, the second flight arrives and they get to the bus station. They're going to be on the 7:30 bus. So they literally were able to make up time and only are like exactly 1 hour behind the first bus. Now, I didn't see, like, Ian and Joe were on the very first bus. The second bus was Joel and Garrett, but they didn't actually write it down that they were on the second bus, if I'm not mistaken. And then the actual third bus was the second flight of people.
Mm-hmm.
So the first bus arrives at 10:30 p.m. in Kanto, Vietnam. But it actually opens at 8:45 a.m. So here we go. Here is our equalizer. And no, just kidding. 5:45. Why can't I read my writing today? It's like, what's happening?
You know, just who cares? It's times.
Times, but the times is the important thing.
They have to wait.
5:45 though. It's very important though. 5:45, because it does become a source of a little bit of drama a little bit later. So there's different time slots. So there's 5:45 time slots. There's a few of those, like 3 or 4. 6 a.m. and then 6:15. So like, even though they have this whole 6-hour spread for the flights, they're actually going to be reduced to 15 and 30-minute leads. So
They had like little slots for it. So my question to you,
mm-hmm.
we're not there yet, but we had the 5:45, we had the 6, we had the 6:15. Well, we know, skipping ahead just a tiny bit for a second, we know that the Stephen and Ali kept rifling through those other ones, and they saw 5:45 in that, but that wasn't there in the other. Do you think that was a production mistake that they meant to put additional one in there, or what do you think happened? Because we saw the teams get there, and they're like, "Oh,
I think that production put a 5:45 in the 6:15 pile,
on
and
mistake,
say again,
on purpose,
on
or
purpose.
okay, okay,
I think that they know that like, if a team that was on the last flight or got there last even, and they were able to get on the 5:45 flight, it would cause potential drama.
it felt a little purposeful to me as well, and I don't know how I feel about it. I think that's I mean, I
Oh.
like the drama, but I feel as if they should have maybe mixed them more, like, maybe just put the top ones as those and then mix them up, so you're like, "Oh, they're all mixed, I just didn't know." Or it just felt very like, "We wanna cause some drama, this is what we're doing." It was a little too heavy-handed for me. Um,
Well, I don't necessarily mind it, because like, check all the time slots. Why are you just like, the fact that you're just like taking what you see at face value instead of like being a little more thorough.
I
I don't
just think
know,
maybe mix the last 2 or something, or, you know,
or shuffle them all.
right, something like that, and then just have the first ones showing, like, what you looks like in order, and then it's like, "Okay, you shoulda looked," but this just placing 1 in there, I don't know about that. That it seemed, yeah, a little too much for me. It was like, "You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take this one, we're gonna stick it in the last one."
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, if it was all mixed up, then I think that people would have figured it out more quickly, right? And so then it would be people like, oh no, let me look, like, it might be
Or even
jumbled
had teams getting
chaos.
there being like grabbing one and then just there, I just feel like there could have been a way where you could have had it where it seems like it was in order and yet wasn't, but the fact that there was only one out of place just didn't look very clean to me. I don't know.
So Taj is saying, now that I think about it, there's usually a sign-up sheet, or all the tokens are hung up individually. Like, I like this though, changes things up. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're just trying something new to see their response. And so survey says, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying let's look into it further. Let's like we can think of something another way though. Yeah.
Sandy says, yeah, I'm not complaining though. They need something to fill the time, and drama could be it.
Yeah.
Could be it.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And we love the drama. It's just, make it, maybe not make it so obvious. Sometimes.
Well, and like, okay, so are you upset because like you wouldn't have necessarily gone through all the piles?
Ooh, I honestly can't. I'm pretty thorough with my stuff, so I can't honestly say that I wouldn't or would have. I don't really know, but I feel like I would have, at least.
I mean, for life now, I will.
Yeah. I mean,
But
here's the thing. It's not. There was no rule like once you grab one because you weren't ripping it off. It's like once you grab one and take one, you couldn't like switch it out or anything like that. Like I didn't hear or see anything, so um, I would have like grabbed one in the quick one and then like you're waiting anyway, so you might as well look through the rest. And if there's a better one, swap it out real quickly if you're there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I definitely would have not. I would have taken an earlier one if I saw that there was like a 6 and a 6:15. I would have grabbed an earlier one, knowing that I at least wasn't in the like
the
because we
last row.
saw Joel and Garrett. Like, remember they waited in that flag and they were like, and then they made them end of the line. So you don't want to hesitate. There's a difference, but then you could be thorough. So yeah, I would have gone through it.
So we thought that Rob and Corey got the last 45 start, but then the fourth bus arrives at 5 a.m. And then for whatever reason, Annalie and Steve were able to find a 5:45. So they had to wait like almost zero time, and they get to snag a top spot, being on the second plane and not even having to like dilly-dally for hours. So
That's also an who I think could like lose it a little bit. Little Annalie. There was some hints where she takes it out on her husband. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, he's like, yeah, don't take it out on me, take it out on her. She has her husband for that.
yeah, let's give it a few more legs and see how that goes. I'm like, love it.
Yeah, she might have a little bit of a meltdown, which will be fun as long as her mental health is okay.
Yeah.
So group 1 is going to be Depart. And we do learn that Annalie says that the title line of the episode, "No sleep at $1 million dream," when she's talking about how they basically had enough time to wash their underarms and get back to racing. So yes, I think that they're a good casting team. I would say, though, I'm happy to have them on my team. Like the duo, Annalie and Steve.
Yeah, I mean they seem to. We're not there yet again, but they seem to like get through things pretty decently. Even when I'm worried that they won't. Like last episode with the bouquets, and now with the making the rice papers. I mean, yeah, they're not bad at. I feel like anything they do. I don't think they're the quickest necessarily, but they're not bad at anything. So, and I feel like they'll provide some entertainment as we go further. Yeah.
And I guess they're also, for me, they're just two people that I don't know if I'll ever meet in my life, or I've never met anybody like them. And so it's nice to see this dynamic, like best friends, father, daughter, but like she looks like she could be like, an Instagram model. Like she's super gorgeous and he's super country, but she's a tomboy. Like I just don't know anybody like them. So I find it fascinating to watch, to be honest.
He's very like grounded, which I think really helps her because she's, but they're both competitive seemingly, obviously. So I think it's a good mix for this race, having that kind of, someone who can kind of bring you down a little bit, and then someone who could like make sure you're on top of it.
Hi, Mary. So Mary's saying Ashley and Todd, Ian and Joe are the bickering couples, but they wish they would bicker a little bit more. I think it's coming. Ashley, she looked like she was ready to start bickering when she didn't get that 5:45 ticket. Oh no, when she didn't get that. Sorry, when she didn't get the earlier flight.
Right. Ashley and Todd are my Jada and Will couple.
What, like separated for 7 years?
Making it work. Marriage is a choice, and Ian. I mean, if anyway, it's gonna be Ian, right? Who's not Joe. Joe was like very calm.
I don't know who is who yet.
Ian was the one who was worked up, and Joe was like, I'm not saying we don't need to be urgent. I'm just keeping it light.
Wait, say that again?
He was saying like Joe.
Ian or Joe?
Joe was saying that he, because Ian was on him about like no, we don't have to rush, or we don't have to be like, we need to be urgent. We need to rush, whatever. And then Joe was like, I'm not saying we don't need to be urgent. I'm just keeping it light. So Joe's the grounded one, and Ian's the one who's like, I can get worked up.
And he has the darker hair, correct?
Yeah, I think it's
and shorter potentially.
I don't know height wise. They're both kind of ish the same to me, but
so
he's the one who looks a little older. If I was to guess who's older by a few years, I would say it's probably Ian and not Joe. Joe's just the nicer one.
Okay, so Joe, because I guess because I feel like Ian looks like more like a Joe. That's why it's confusing me. So Joe is who I think is taller with lighter hair and younger looking.
Younger looking, yeah. He here, I'm looking at a photo of him right now. Yes, he is taller.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Lighter hair, lighter brown.
Lighter hair, yeah. The other one's more.
So that's Joe. Okay, so I think the other guy looks more like a Joe to me. So this is another case of Todd Scott. It's gonna be Joey in this time.
Ian's Joe has some scruff, and Ian's clean shaven. I mean, in their cast photo. But okay. Ian's definitely shorter. He's the spicier one in the sense of like, he's gonna.
Wait, Ian's short. Sandy, no.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. Ian's
yes.
Sorry,
yes. Because the other guy looks
shorter, like quick.
Got it.
Lose it. Ian, nicer, softer, a little bit taller. Joe.
Sandy says, I mean, Joe and Ely barely got any screen time, and it's the third episode. I mean, I think their screen time is coming. It's coming. Well, they got actually quite a bit of screen time a little later on in this episode, actually.
Well, they made a silly mistake. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so they're going to be getting a route info here. They're going to Mekong Delta, which is 2,700 miles. It's a floating market. 2,700 miles. So, like, what? That's 2.2 kilometers per mile. So that's like, I don't know, 14,000 kilometers. That doesn't seem that wide.
You lost me at math.
No, but like if you think about, if they're saying it's the distance across America, it seems small to me.
Yeah, I know.
Like 15,000 kilometers? Sorry, we're Canadian, so I don't understand miles.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is I don't understand miles. I just know kilometers. So
I mean, it's 2. I don't know. I mean, that's like 50,000 is even actually too high. It's probably closer to 12. But like, anyways, it's just like a kilometer is far, but it doesn't. Anyways, I feel maybe because Canada is a lot bigger than the States, even though they put it on a map to make it look like it's bigger, but it actually in mass it's smaller.
If no one's looked at a real world map, by the way, please Google that. Like a real, not the map that you were taught in school, but like a real, there you go. Americans don't understand. Look at Google a real map, and you'll see how skewed and how certain, how the maps who make the maps make certain countries look bigger than they actually are and more prominent and stuff. It's really interesting. It really kind of throws your perception of everything.
Well, hold on. There was a stat that I looked up the other day. So for Americans to understand how much bigger Canada is. Hold on. So how big is Ontario compared to Texas?
Canada lives in like, I don't know what the percentage is, but such a small percentage of the actual land mass.
Okay, so it's Ontario. So Ontario is basically like a state, but it's a province. We call them provinces in Canada. And it is almost twice the size of Texas. So Texas is 268,000 square miles and Ontario is 415,000 square miles. So it's 1.55, sorry, not 2, but 1.55 times bigger than Texas. And so, but we have like a tenth of the people living in these spaces. So just a little bit of geography there. So maybe that makes more sense because like Canada is just so much bigger land-wise than the United States. So me thinking like, I feel like that many kilometers is just like getting out of Ontario, but no. boats getting all the way across the United States. All right, so they're going to this floating market in Kairong. They have to find 3 different vendors. So they're going to have a boat that they're going to be driving on. They're going to be carrying a bunch of dragon fruit, tangerines, and golden melons. They're going to have to find the other boat that would be selling these or retrieving these from you, and you have to throw them over to these people, these vendors. So the issue here is that each vendor is only able to take 2 boats at a time. And as we know, there's 12 teams still in this game. So that is going to cause for traffic jam.
Yeah, you can only dock 2 teams. This is where I didn't love this for me because and I don't think it's any fault of theirs. I just think the structure of the challenge in itself doesn't allow, it was messy. I didn't know who was ahead of who, even though we had the little check marks of what they passed off. I just could not imagine it in my head, geographically, and I know some teams had to go all the way around, and it was just very chaotic and messy, and I was always waiting for that little butt thing to pop up to tell me who had completed what, because I just could not follow it. And it was a little inconsistent with some people were like, no, you have to throw it because it says you have to toss it. Which we saw teams like Victor and Jocelyn drop an orange in the water and have to scoop it out. And then we saw other teams essentially placing it in a bag or giving it to the people hand in hand. Didn't love that inconsistency because
did you have to toss them 2 at a time or pass them? What was the rule?
Toss it, you should have been forced to toss it and have that risk of dropping it and then having to pick it up and scooping it out of the water, that eating your time. So it was a little inconsistent and a little chaotic in the sense of I couldn't really figure out who was in what placement until they left. So
yeah, Sandy's right here. I would have loved to have a drone shot for this challenge, just to see where all the teams were and just seeing all the fruit being thrown. That would have been a nice aerial view. Agreed. Yeah, it was too many teams, I think, for this particular challenge. But I think also they knew it was going to be a non-elimination essentially episode, so they didn't mind spreading these teams apart a little bit to make the time, because they just equalized them. So now they're again going to be what's the word I want? Sporadic, sparsely placed. Anyways, separate them a little bit. So group 2 is going to be leaving at 6 a.m. So they're getting onto the water. Then group 3 leaving at 6:15, getting onto the water. I didn't really talk that much about this because it was just kind of traffic jam, throwing fruit. How did Joe and Ian not get their clue? So the clue that they need to receive is each of the 3 vendors are going to have a piece of an image. And those images, you put them together, I guess they're going to see where they need to go next. How did they not get their clue?
And I don't know if we didn't see it or I blinked or looked away for a second, but I just saw them in the boat being like, oh, we didn't get our clue and we have to go back. And then it's we can't, there's 9,000 teams there. And they went and did something else and then went back for it. And then even when they back for it, they still had to wait. So it was a significant delay for them. Were they unable just to say sorry guys and just step in their canoe, get on the other floating dock and be like, can I have my clue? Did they have to wait until they could park? Oh, maybe Corey can pass it to me, and they're not going to give it to him. Is what was.
I mean, I wouldn't give it to them, absolutely not. But you could also just
Corey would have. I just think they wouldn't give it to Corey. Is what they were. Joe or Ian was saying could they just pass it to Corey? And then the other Joe or Ian was saying they're not going to give it to him. So they must know you can't hand a different team a clue, you know what I mean, the clue and then pass it to someone else or so.
How did they leave without their clue? It's so weird.
Yeah, that is so weird. I wonder, and maybe they didn't show us, I'm not sure, I should rewatch it, but maybe they didn't very aptly hand it to them and then they just okay, great, we're done, on to the next. So
but on to the next they take off super quickly.
Yeah.
You think that they'd get back into their boat and be the guy would be here you go.
And maybe he wasn't. So maybe he a little bit forgot too. But
are you turning around and they're already taking off?
That wasn't the only mistake in this.
Okay, I have to have a question because I know this is one of your top teams. And
Oh, who?
so,
Who?
Joe and Ian.
Yes.
So, are they actually secretly not good at this race? Like, I kind of feel like we might be giving them a lot more props and, like, being able to do better, but they're actually a bit of a train wreck.
I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I here's my thing. I think it's secretly Ian's not good at this race because if you chalk up kind of what has held them back, it's I think Ian. So let's watch. Let's see what happens. But watch the 3 episodes. Keep an eye out for who's holding them back. Like the episode where they're trying to figure out that thing. Ian was there for 50 minutes. It's you know what I mean. Like I think it's Ian. And
Mm.
if you're trying to Joe's trying to like keep him calm and all that stuff, and Ian's working you up. That's not helping things in and itself. But not just them. Let's talk about that express pass.
Lord have mercy on my soul.
Why
Hold
would
on.
you use it? What? Oh, thank you. We're
Love
done
of
with.
Nikki's like, I am done with the sisters. They made me so upset. Use their express spec immediately or save it. That's exactly what I was saying.
Not even. I'm. If you see the task, okay,
I'd be
this is my
like,
little hot take, and you're like, oh, we can do this. It's just it might be frustrating, whatever. But we can do this, and it's not essentially like it's going to be minutes. Why wouldn't you just say, let's save this for a task that A we can't do,
right. Well,
or
okay.
or B, the next one that if we're behind after this, because this is like really no one's going to be like that bad at it that it's going to put you an hour behind or anything. So if we're behind going into the next one, we'll just use it in the next one immediately.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was like saying deuces. Like if you saw this task and you just want to skip over it because like you think it's going to be impossible for you to be able to get out on top. Okay, use the express pass, but don't him and haw over it because like you're eating up the potential time that you'd be making up. But I also am a proponent of using it on, like you said, a task that is too difficult for me to be able to get done, or it's something like it's on a balance beam and I keep on falling off, or like it's too heavy, or it's a needle in the haystack. Like
This
something
you can do. It's just tossing fruit. You can do this. So why would you?
exactly. Like, yeah, I wouldn't personally have wasted it on it. But if they're gonna him and haw about it, that's worse than just using it right away, which is what Diva is suggesting. Like wasting so much time deciding whether or not you're gonna use it, just use it or not use it and power through. Um
And this
also
is even like it's ended the fourth leg, but this is, spoiler. At the end, we find out it's continuation. They're still racing. So that like technically still the third leg because they didn't get to the mat and they didn't stop. So it's actually like not even next episode they could have used it, but the following episode would have been the fourth. So they could have used it in 2 more episodes.
Well, and that's the thing as well is that I would use it on what would be likely the last uh detour roadblock of the leg. So like I would want to use it closest to getting to the mat because you don't know if like I would want to know that I'm done this leg and that I've used it and the placements are not necessarily going to move. The
How
fact
do
that they
you?
use it at the very beginning of the leg, so they're only on they're not even on they're just on a was it even a detour? Was it? It was no, it was a route info.
How are you going to eat a crispy tarantula and use it on fruit tossing? You know what I mean?
No, I mean like it would have been better even to use it on the next task that they had to do. Like legit
Yeah.
detour.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm glad that they were kind of messing up on that only because I'm like, you know what? Life lesson is that you shouldn't have used it in that last one. So,
Not at
and again,
all.
it didn't cost you anything ultimately other than shocked faces with their placement at the end.
Mhm.
Um, but, it didn't cost you the race or anything. So maybe it's a lesson for going forward that you won't squander kind of any advantages that you get and use them wisely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Like, if you're gonna have the express pass, especially when there's so many teams left, like you're gonna do better likely than at least one team this round. Even if you're at the back of the pack with this fruit tossing thing, don't use your express pass. Wait until like
Yeah.
it's do or die.
Even if this was the last leg that they could have used it, I would have just waited, and I'd rather, not use it, have it it's not like an idol, going home with an I it's I'd rather not use it and know that I had it and I could have used it when I needed it than, using it at something that's, like, this easy, you know what I mean? Just use it at the last one, if you were like, oh, I can do this one probably, but I haven't needed it. I'd rather save it and make sure I'm using it for one that I might not be able to do. So yeah, I mean, it was chaotic. That fruit, I love seeing it. I love seeing like I was like, oh, it's like Water World with Kevin Costner. It's like a fruit market on water. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, all that. But yeah,
Yeah, why use it so early? It's so frustrating. I was like, what a waste. What a wasted express pass on something that everybody is capable of doing.
yeah.
Oh well, they can't be great at everything. So they're gonna have to go to once they finish this market task, they're gonna have to go to a tackle box, and they learn that there's gonna be a detour. So this detour is paperwork plastic. And you know what? It's like some people were saying earlier on the chat, like, oh, there was no roadblock this episode. And that should have been an indicator likely that the leg wasn't over, because probably in the next part of this we're still racing, we will get a roadblock, and it'll probably be both people have to do a roadblock, like two sides of a roadblock, or not two sides, but both
One,
teammates will
yeah,
have to do a roadblock.
yeah. That's what you're saying.
That's my thought, because it'll be like, oh, whatever, whichever teammate did not do that did not do the previous roadblock has to do this one.
Which one would you have picked out of these two?
Paper for sure.
Yeah, I although I can't cook, I can bake. Can't cook. I just would have the technical elements of the next one would have scared me that you need to be like really precise. And I just feel like we could have banged out some like learn. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more forgiving, I think.
Yeah, and the learning curve seems a little bit easier. So like, okay, like it takes, what did they say? It was 24 seconds underneath the steam, like when you put the steam thing on, and he did like 12 rotations. I can't remember exactly the numbers that Corey said, but it seemed like it took about 1 minute to make
Yeah.
a rice paper.
And the fact
Um,
that you needed like the 12 versus the other one, you only need the one just shows. I mean, I don't remember what info they were given about it, but just goes to show you that, that needed to be like a perfect one where this is like, oh, if you can make 12, then they probably can make them faster and redo them if you screw up, right? So
exactly.
I would have also gone with paper.
And also, I've never had to put a decal or decal, however you pronounce it, on anything before, and I think it would annoy me.
Yeah. My brother-in-law does that for a living. He owns his own business doing that, wrapping like vans and stuff like
Hate
that.
it.
So
But a great business, because
we
someone
have
has to do it.
yeah, we haven't talked about it, and I've never done it. I don't know how difficult it is, but I was just like, "Oh, I know someone who does this for a living."
Well, because like the fact that it's like was just like a piece of sheet, and like it was going around round edges, like, and but it can't have any bumps, bubbles, or wrinkles, as like that would annoy me. Then you have to start all over again if you make a little bubble mistake. No, I would do rice paper for sure.
Definitely thought it was interesting that the strategy of the ability to pick different colors, the strategy of like, let's do it darker. This is showing too much. Let's do it lighter because it's more of the color of this. Or I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm glad they had different colors in plastic that the teams could try.
But what was interesting though on that point is that so spoiler alert, Joel and Garrett, they decided to do paper, but then Morgan and Lena, who just had used their express pass, decide to do plastic, because we learned that Lena, she was working in marketing, and she had to like do a whole plastic vinyl thing, and so she felt confident being able to execute this pretty quickly and effectively. So they're at plastic. The other people at plastic was Joel and Ian. And so when they were both there, so Morgan and Lena, they decided to choose orange, and Joe and Ian decided to do blue. And then
Perfect.
they both, or purple, sorry, and then they both switched to the other person's color, saying that like they think it would be easier. So when they had a check, Morgan and Lena decided to go to purple, and then
I
Joe,
think they went. Maybe did they do three? They ended up going
and they
with
did
blue.
they two sorry two oranges, and then blue or purple, like a darker color.
And Jeremy and Liam were also picked.
Eventually, yeah, they got there a little bit later, but Joe and Ian decided to go to do orange, because they thought that blue was showing a lot of or purple was showing a lot of the defects and like the wrinkles and stuff like that. So they both had the same thought process that it was like the color of the wrapping.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's, like, accurate or not, like, for whatever their mistakes were, maybe it was beneficial to pick a different color, but I was like, "Okay, alright."
Mary, you do plastic? It sounds so hard. Yeah, right. Thomas would do rice paper.
I was worried for all the plastic ones, even though I knew that they only had 5 ovens available in the paper ones, which I love that, I love the limiting, um,
100% force some people to maybe go over do plastic and suck at it.
and we saw the best, Milena? Was
Mhm.
it? That did they arrive? Yeah, they waited, right? Yeah, it was them. So we saw the best friends wait, and I think that's smart. Like they knew instinctually, like we'll just wait. There's probably someone finishing up. Like we'll wait. When they got there and there wasn't an oven available. I was like, yep, okay, good. I have a lot of hope for them now because I feel like they're making smart choices. They just happen to be in the back of the pack, but they are making smart choices, and hopefully they'll be able to. I mean, it's one of your teams, but hopefully they'll be able to get themselves, out front. And if they do, I think they can potentially maintain it. So
So Steve and Anna Lee also do paper. One thing that Lena says that with doing the plastic, it's like a giant sticker that just makes you upset. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be choosing the giant sticker that just makes me upset. It would just like I'd rather deal with rice paper. It seems like it's like a little bit meditation like.
you ever put a cover on your phone, like the plastic covers on
I'd
your
actually usually get them to do it.
you have like the I mean, I worked for Rogers for 10 years, so it's like Americans, it's a telephone company. Like and you everyone makes you do it, right? So you get really good at that stuff, but a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Well, like, also, like, I'm, like, always like, I have hyperhidrosis, so my hands are usually sweaty, and so, like, I'm just, like, I don't want, like, a fingerprint on it, like, I don't want a bubble, and, like, I'd be annoyed if there was, like, an air bubble, and then I have to do it again, and so I just get you guys to do it. So,
Yeah.
you
I
you could do the decal.
it's you get good at it if you do it a lot. Russian stuff. It reminded me of doing that, so I was like, no, rice
Diva
paper.
say again?
I said rice paper all the way, please.
100%. Diva also would be waiting on paper like the Philly Besties. So Greg and John says that their boat driver will take the longest route he can find. I felt bad for them. They're just like butting along, not moving nowhere fast or moving
Yeah,
nowhere.
but I don't know if that was the driver because it seemed like they had to specifically go away rather than them making poor choices of like leaving when
Maybe.
they shouldn't have left and they should have waited in certain areas. And I felt like it was them to me.
I mean, maybe they weren't communicating effectively with their driver as to like how to maneuver around. So like maybe they thought that he could just back up and pull over, but like he has to actually go around instead. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah. And I think they like figured
combo.
it out though. And then it was just like, yeah, I don't know. They're not doing as great. The brothers and Joe and Ian, the engaged couple, aren't, and the other brothers aren't doing as specifically. The other brothers, Liam and Jeremy, aren't doing as great as I thought they would, especially in this episode.
Well, I'm still giving hope to my brother-in-laws. So
Hold
I
on,
think that
they're both your brother-in-laws.
well, I mean, if one brother marries my sister, then the other brother would still be my brother-in-law.
Is it? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, his sister is not my sister-in-law.
Yeah, she is.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, they're both yeah.
Oh my god.
She's your sister-in-law. Of course she is.
I would just say like I guess because would you say my brother-in-law's sister? No, that's weird too. I guess you're right. I never thought about it, honestly. Never thought about it.
So anyways, they're both my brother-in-law. But what is my direct brother-in-law or but yeah, you wouldn't say my sister's
Brother-in-law.
husband's brother.
Interesting. Okay, question. Step parent. This is nothing to do with the race, but when they're divorced from your parent, do you say like my ex stepfather, or do you
Oh my
just
god.
like do you say my stepfather's? Like, what do you do? You,
Former, maybe former?
okay, I don't know. I
My
have
former my
stepfather.
former stepfather?
I have two actually. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyway, moving on.
That you might have to ask ChatGPT.
Moving on.
Just may have to ask. So fourth place, though, to finish the market is Rob and Corey. They choose paper, smart choice. To begin, like you said, Steve and Annalie are having a bit of trouble with the rice paper, but they're able to get it together and they figure it out eventually. Like it started off rough, and I was like, ooh, is it like, are people just not watching the example for long enough? Because it seems
Yeah.
like them, and later on Victor and Jocelyn, like Victor and Jocelyn seemed like they weren't putting enough of the batter or the mix on the station, and that's why it wasn't able to peel off, because it was just too thin. And so
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not paying a little bit more attention to detail as to how to do this task.
And the race always has these ones where, it's a learning curve, but it's a quick one, and you'll have some tasks that where you just need to stick with it and stay calm, and you can get it done. Whereas, like, we saw Jocelyn and Victor getting really worked up and snippy with each other about it, and that that just makes everything worse, right? So, I kind of like tasks like that where you can just snowball and spiral, and whereas like people are just, we'll get it, and they get it. We saw, like, I think Jocelyn and Victor were like hitting it with that stick, and I'm like,
Do you see that the
example right there, just go walk.
yeah, like they're not doing that at all. Yeah, you're right, Mary. People just seem to skip the example. They just think they know better. They watch it for a second, and they'll be better at it if they start doing it more quickly. And it's like, actually, if you learn how to do it, you'll get it more quickly. It seems quite logical, but not necessarily when you're in the race mode, it seems. So Todd and Ashley are fifth over to the Detour, and they're choosing paper. Sixth is Joe and Ian choosing plastic. Yeesh. Seventh, I don't know who it is. I'm guessing it's Jeremy and Liam, because I didn't actually write it down, but they choose plastic. Eighth is Victor and Jocelyn choosing paper. Ninth is Robin and Chelsea choosing paper. 10th is Greg and John. They choose paper.
Yeah, we weren't sure
11th,
at first, but they figured it out.
11th is Andrea and Milena choosing paper. And so basically Annalie and Steve like figured it out, and they actually get it on their first check. I think that who checked it first? It was Joel and Garrett did check theirs first, but there was a couple that didn't pass the perfection test. But Annalie and Steve get a check first, or like after them, and their first check they get it right, and so they're off to the pit stop. Who knew?
Shock. Yeah, and you were saying, like, what's her name? Andrea or Andra?
Andrea. Yeah.
Andrea, and Milena. Yeah, they were even saying like they had to wait, so they just kept watching the example, which really helped them, right? So we did hear that from them as well. But yeah, I know Steve and Annalie figured it out real quick. So
So they were heading over to the pit stop, which is about 30,000. There's 30,000 places of worship in Vietnam. And they're going to Truc Lam Phoam Ing Nam,
mhm.
which is a Zen monastery. So second check, Joel and Ian get, and they do pass this detour. So they're heading over to the pit stop as well. And then why is Jocelyn and Victor lost? What happened? They're like running through these streets, or like these like
Someone's
alleys.
backyard and yeah, they well, and then we saw they ran right past it because they had to backtrack, and they
They're
ran
like,
right.
oh my God, we missed it. I'm
No,
like,
they were spiraling. It started on that fruit tossing thing, and like and with the flights and everything. They're just used to being in first, and so now it's, you know I think they were thrown this leg. It was just like
it's good though.
uncomfortable, and things weren't falling into place, and it got to them a little bit.
I think this is good for them though. It's
Yeah.
a little bit humbling, because like if you're getting like first place twice in a row, and even if you'd made some mistakes, but you're still ending up in front, now seeing like, oh no, like I making mistakes doesn't mean I'm still going to end up in front. Like I do have to be a little bit more careful and particular and pay attention and not make mistakes, because it actually could cost you the race in the end. So I'm happy that they got this learning lesson now when there's so many teams still left in the game, because I do want them to do well, and so hopefully this is like a learning curve for them.
Yeah.
I hope so. All right, so yes, we learned there's only 5 stations, so Andrea and Milena had to wait. Would you have waited, Jonathan, or would you have been like, no, I'm going to go over to plastic?
I would have done exactly what they did. Waited, watched the example, would have had it down.
Learn
Like
how to
we saw
do it.
counting how long that you needed to do that for.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I've been like right up in their face like that. I would have been like looking at like how that
How much is in that ladle?
how it picks it up, how they're laying it down, like all of that. I'm like, this is your opportunity, right? So
Absolutely. Like if it's a forced choosing to watch the example. Just
yeah.
watch the example. And then also being able to watch all the other people, how they're doing it wrong or incorrectly, or what techniques we're not using. So that's also useful. We learned last episode that that's how Greg was able to do the lotus flower challenge a little more quickly, is because everybody, he was seeing what everybody was doing wrong and what wasn't getting checked, and so, or wasn't getting approved. So sometimes it's worth it just to take a little gander and take a watch, as opposed to like speed, because it probably saved them a lot of trial and error time.
And I think that's what's good about this season is a lot of these challenges because they are just that. Like if you make it there first, your reward is that if you're naturally great at it, you can also leave probably first. But you don't have the other teams there making all the mistakes so you can see or learn off of them, whereas the other teams who are behind can. So I feel like we've had that, even just in the first 3 legs, we've had that quite a bit. So yeah, I think they've done a really good job with the challenges this season and all of that. So I liked it. I was just really worried for anyone who went to plastic. I was like, I don't know how you think this could be quicker than doing 12 rice paper.
I mean, maybe. Well, see what I think. Also, do you think they says whether or not there's 5 stations only on the actual detour clue, or do they find out when they get there?
Not when they get there. I think once you like decide what you're going to do and then open it up, I think it definitely said. But I just don't remember. I don't know if they didn't show us exactly like how much detail it tells you and initially when you're deciding what you're going to do. Um,
The only reason why I'm asking this, because like if I knew that there's only 5 stations, I'd probably go to that one, right? Because like that there's people that are forced to do the other. They're gonna have to travel, go to the other one, or they have to wait for you to complete it. So it's kind of like a nice placeholder to a certain extent, as long as obviously the other task isn't far easier. But I would want to do the one that has multiple or only has a limited amount of spaces, because it just halts other teams from being able to advance and pass you.
And I also think that that's an indicator that it's likely a lot of teams would go to that because
Yeah, it's easier.
yeah. So they're like, we're going to put a limit on this one. Just be, and I do think they
And
found
force people to do the harder tasks potentially.
exactly. So I understand why people were like, let's just go to this because we don't want to be held up there. But like,
But I'm talking about Morgan and Lena specifically, for the fact that they did plastic right away when they had the option to do
well,
paper.
you said they had that. One of them has that background and whatever. But I'm
I
like, better
know,
be,
but you
better be
knew
your
that it sucked though.
better be this full time job doing this, or else we're not going to this one because no.
Jonathan, like I would never, even if I had done this like a vinyl wall and it sucked, I'd be like, you know what? It sucked. It's a learning curve and I wouldn't want to do it. Let's
It
try
just doesn't
something new.
make sense because, like, if you're one person's like, "Oh, I have some experience in this area," and the other person doesn't, I would rather do the task that you both have. It's making food, like it's you know what I mean. Like you both have some sort of like even some capabilities within it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it was such a big mistake. I think they made a lot of mistakes
Hmm.
in this episode, and yeah, we had definitely a moment when they figured out what place that they arrived at them on the. Well, I mean, kind of pit stop, not
Hmm.
still
The
going.
mat. We'll say the mat.
Nah,
So speaking of the mat, getting there first is Steve and Anna Lee on my team, and they learned that they're still racing. And so, but they are going to be given 5,500 Vietnamese Dawn for this leg of the race. Second place is Joel and Garrett. Is that you? Yeah, it is you.
my team. Yeah,
Your team. Third place is Robin Corey. You again.
My team.
Whatever. Fourth place is Todd and Ashley.
You know that's my team.
Okay, so then the people had left the detour at a certain place, and then so it's kind of confusing. So Morgan and Lena leave in fifth, but they actually make it to the mat in sixth, and they thought that they were still in second place, like, or first place. Like, they thought that they were so far out in front. And you're right, they're just like, oh, I'm gonna use my express pass to be in sixth.
Yeah. Yes,
Brutal.
it was definitely a slap in the face, and I feel like they felt it.
Yeesh. So leaving paper in fifth or sixth place, Robin and Chelsea managed to get fifth place to the check-in. Andrea and Milena left in seventh.
I
Even
just
though they were say again.
Robin and Chelsea, my team. Just like
Oh shit! Oh my god, are your teams doing really well? This like whatever. Well, Andrea and Milena, they left paper in seventh place, and they actually didn't end up getting to the mat until ninth place, unfortunately. Joe and Egan leave plastic in eighth place. I don't know, and they got their ninth place or seventh place. I don't know. It all got mixed around from when they were leaving and to when they actually checked in on the mat. And I thought I took better notes.
kind of like
Yeah.
again, this is where I'd like a little topical map, just showing me how far to wherever their the pit stop is from like the tasks that they're doing. Like I want to kind of see them like, oh well, these ones are a lot closer, so and I know they will never do that because they want to like be able to edit and make it like
Make it
suspense.
look like it's really close
But I
or
just
not.
want to see it. I just want to see. I want to see if people had to like travel 10 minutes or if people had to travel 20 minutes. Like I just want to see.
Well, I heard that though. I think somebody said that plastic and paper were close by to
Oh,
each
okay.
other. So Joe and Ian left plastic in eighth, and they got to the mat in seventh. Greg and John left in ninth, got to the mat in eighth. Jocelyn and Victor leave in 10th. They get to the mat in 10th place, deflated. They even, and Phil is like, yeah, so you've been on top for a couple legs, and how does it feel now to be in the bottom of the pack?
First, and second last.
Second to last. He really like, oh, and then though, Jeremy and Liam get to the mat, and they had no idea that they were so far behind. But Phil likes to add insult to injury and says, "You're dead last," and they're just like, "Dead last." Yeah, you're dead last, brothers, unfortunately.
They did this weird thing where they were like they hype themselves up before they like go off somewhere. They did it when they were like, "But you're still racing." They're like, "Okay, yeah, let's do it. All right, let's go." Yeah, like, and they do that. And they did it like a little bit earlier too. I was like, "Can you just focus on like doing well at this race that you're not good at, which we were fully expecting you to be good at?" But they were your number one choice, and I was going to pick them as well. But they're just like not good at this. I don't know why either. I can't explain it. I just
They're not as worldly as I was thinking that they're going to be.
yeah, like I said before, it's too same, right? When you have family members who were raised together, perhaps, and yes, I know they said there was moments they didn't talk to each other, but whatever. You're raised together, you have similar experiences. I feel like you're not offering different elements. You're not bringing different things to the table. If you have like a partner, a married couple who weren't raised the same, then you're bringing different elements to the table, and it could be more of a benefit than siblings. I personally would love to see some stats on if siblings do better or family members do better versus people who weren't raised together. Because I genuinely think that people who weren't raised together have different skill sets.
Uh, well, kind of like our favorite twins from last season.
But also, not like friends who've never seen each other before, whatever. Because yeah, our twins last season were an interesting study in itself. But like couples who've been together for a while and know each other and having been raised differently, obviously, I think that's the best mix for having a more worldly, a rounded kind of knowledge. Victoria says, who out of the two of you would you? I think you should try both, like Ashley and Todd Scott did, where she wasn't doing great, and then they switched, and Todd started doing it, and they were like, oh, they found his like calling. You know what I mean? Like, if someone's not doing great, like I wouldn't care, just do it, and then if someone's not doing great, just be willing to switch out.
Yeah, I mean, would I be bossy enough to do it first? I don't know.
It wouldn't bother me one way or the other. Personally, I'd be like, yeah, go for it if you want to, or I'll go for it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, that's like kind of how I feel, is that we both would be willing to take the lead and do it, and also be willing to watch the person learn.
It's like a Survivor thing or whatever. Like you have like those challenges where like someone has to shoot something in somewhere, and if it's not good, you can switch them out. It's like one of those things. Like just be willing to switch it out if you need to.
Yeah, I'm willing to switch things out if I'm like, oh shit, I suck at this. Okay, Jonathan, you try. I don't think I'd get impatient on the sidelines, because especially if I wasn't any better.
Right.
I mean, I say this now, but like boiling hot in Thailand and Vietnam, like I might just like,
let me do it.
like, get out of here, you're stupid. You suck at this. Let me get this.
I come on the race with you. Like,
I can't believe I picked you. You're the worst partner ever. I don't think I would get there.
I'll just drive in. Go even harder. Okay. Listen, it's like in school. I had a teacher who was rough and tough and would like, I went to Catholic school, and like hit her cane down on your desk. My favorite teacher. I need that kind of like motivation.
I've had some of those type of teachers. Like my ballet teacher was pretty strict, and she was my favorite teacher.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a lot of dance training is, well, not as harsh as maybe Dance Moms, but like they are pretty strict. So I kind of like that a little bit. Thomas here was saying that Jocelyn and Victor and Jeremy and Liam were catching their cabs to the pit stop about the same time.
How do we know?
We don't really know. Oh no, we did see Jeremy and Liam running to the mat in the shot of Jocelyn and Victor being there, so they were close together.
They arrived, at ish, Which I thought was, when I was watching that, I was thinking, I was like, ooh, I bet the producers hate this, because Liam and Jeremy are seeing that Phil is handing them, so they can't do the whole dramatic like, your last place.
That's why you said you're dead last.
Yeah, because they could see that they were like still racing, so they kind of like knew, and I was like, ooh, I bet the producers hate this right now.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's pretty much it for this recap, everybody. Unless you have anything else to add that we didn't speak about today.
No, I think it was a good episode.
Oh, wait, sorry. You're right, Thomas. They did see each other because, you're right. Remember Jocelyn and Victor, they got in the cab, and then we saw them leaving, and they saw them in the cab. So you are correct, yeah.
In the cab, yeah. So they left just after, and then they got there just after. So yeah, no, that is true. Good episode. A little messy with, the floating market situation, but I mean, it can't be helped, and changed up a little bit. So yeah.
The order is all over the place right now.
It's at the end.
So other than like Jocelyn and Victor's fall from grace this episode, is there a surprise and a surprise flop? So a surprise success and a surprise flop this episode?
Well, Robin and Chelsea are doing better, which are, again, my team. So one of my teams I was happy about. Although it didn't come in first, my sixth team. So like, I feel like I'm going to have to lose a team. My teams didn't come in last either. They weren't even the last two. So I was very happy with my teams this round, but watch me like lose like a team next time or whatever. So yeah, I was a little surprised with Robin and Chelsea doing better. Steven and
Robin and Chelsea, I don't know who's who in that team either. I'm thinking Robin's
the like
shorter one,
bullier one. That's an easy name for me to remember.
Oh, right. Wait, is that the taller person with the reddish hair?
She's shorter.
Okay, because she was the one that was said in this episode, which I was like, this doesn't bode well for your success in the game. I think she said something to the effect of, I don't really get along with people and I don't really like people, or like I don't really want to talk to anybody. And like I was like,
Me too. No, she's the one last episode who said that she would say that. But last episode where she did the bouquets and said that like she thought she would kill it, be great at it. That's Robin. Chelsea's like the one who was bullied by her when she was younger and is the taller one. Yeah.
okay, got it.
There's still a lot of them, so I just don't know if they're not bringing anything to the table of interest, or if they like go in a couple rounds anyway. So
but
they're
I think maybe that the fact that Robin doesn't get along with these teams, or like doesn't want to even try, that maybe a fight's a brewing.
they're a little snoozy for me. I do have to admit. So I'm not surprised that we don't see a lot of them, but again, still on my draft, so I'm rooting for them.
Okie dokie. Thanks, chat, for being here. Yes, thanks for reminding everybody, Kathy, to hit the like button, please. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and help, build this community of people that love talking about reality TV. Send in your suggestions on how you would like us to cover House of Villains. I guess I could do a Discord thing, but then also like maybe we both watch it separately or watch it on a stream and then like talk about it live. I don't know.
You can also
Give us your ideas.
You can also watch it on Discord, like have that as a separate screen, and then people too.
And then have like us live on the other screen.
Because Discord doesn't care about that, like copyrights or anything like that. So,
we'll see.
Everyone watch Brimac Gets a Life.
Watch Brimac Gets a Life. I've watched the first 3 episodes with Jonathan, and it was really funny.
Where's my hat again? On Crave. on Crave starting tomorrow.
Just so you guys know, in real life, his head isn't too big. So I don't know what miniature person.
My head is absolutely.
It doesn't look as big as this hat is making it look.
But it doesn't. It won't actually sit on.
But like, whose head is as small as that hat? No, like Hollywood person. That's not cute, though.
Listen, I can rock anything.
Maybe just except for that hat.
Watch Brimac on Crave.
Watch Brimac on Crave, please. Is it on in the U.S.? Where could they find it in the
US? Crave Canada. For now. But I'll let you know if it gets picked up. If you want to watch US stuff that I do, Spencer Sisters is on CW right now. It's episode 2 just aired, and it's another show of mine. So go watch the Spencer Sisters.
And my friend Cindy's going to be on it. I don't know which episode, but one of the episodes, Cindy's going to be on it.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Aw, my berets. I know. I love my berets too. If you guys are going to be going to Brea, California, I will be there at the beginning of November. November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd with Rob as a podcast to do a live recap of Survivor. And then also, I think it's the final 5 of Big Brother season 25. So yes, I'll wear another beret for you over there. Yes. Ben, I haven't watched the rest of the Traitors yet. I'm behind. There's too much TV on. But anyways, thanks, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Ciao.